Hi, TikTok friends. Why am I wearing this ridiculous hat, you might be asking? Well, today I took my kids to a Renaissance fair, which is, something that I haven't done in maybe 20 years, just so that they could experience what it's like to go to such a whimsical type of experience and see folks dressed in interesting Renaissance and other types of outfits. We did some axe throwing. We watched some archery. We saw some performances, people on stilts. We shopped around and looked at artwork and jewelry and Renaissance goods forged from leather and iron, and it was a good time. And it was also an experiment for me on day 2 of week 3 of my health journey, as aided by a GLP-1. I'm being careful with what I'm saying on this app, as not to get myself banished to the shadows, if you know what I mean. So it is the second day of my 3rd week on the Zep, and I wanted to experiment a little bit with, what would it be like to try out a little bit of fair food and see, kind of what I had the appetite for, since I had such a rough experience the week before in week 2 on vacation, going out to eat, and ended up gaining a couple of pounds back. So I thought, hey, I want to take my kids to this, and they're going to want fair food, and maybe I'll have a little bit and see if I can survive it without, completely losing control. And I did. It was a pretty good experience. But now I'm going to take this hat off, so pardon the hat head, because the hat head is hat heading. Wait, hold on. Whew. All right, that's better. No more hat head, and I feel more like myself again. So in the morning I woke up, and on day 2, after each injection, I found that that's like where I really start to feel the appetite suppression and sometimes some of the side effects. And today was very similar to the previous 2 weeks. On day 2, I woke up, wasn't really super hungry, but had breakfast. I had 2 eggs over easy and a single piece of toast, and that was pretty much all I could stomach. But I knew I was going to the fair, so I also wanted to be a little bit reserved. So I got my protein in, but I didn't overdo it. So we went to the fair, and we had all that fun that I described. But I split a fried dough with my daughter, and I probably had maybe a tenth of it, and she ate the rest of it. And I split a soft pretzel with her. So I had about half of the soft pretzel. So, I feel like I did okay, but heavy on the carbs. So not much protein to be seen there. Also had a little bit of freshly squeezed lemonade while I was there. So, I survived that. I don't feel like I overdid it. I feel like, I got to enjoy it without overthinking it. And I successfully did it without, really kind of letting myself go and just giving up and having too much. I really was able to gauge my own limits and not push myself past those limits. And then I came home and I had a really healthy late lunch, the rest of a poke bowl. If you're not familiar with poke, it's basically like deconstructed sushi. If you don't love that, I'm sorry. I do. So I basically had quinoa and some sushi rice with a bunch of vegetables and a little bit of shrimp. And that's pretty healthy. So because I was worried I wasn't getting enough protein today, I also had a protein shake right before I started this video. I'm feeling completely full and kind of borderline like a little too full. So we'll see what the evening holds if I end up having dinner. But if I do, I'll definitely prioritize having some protein. So last night I was invited to join some other GLP-1 health journey people on a TikTok live, which was actually a couple of TikTok lives, which was a lovely experience to have a live chat with other folks who are in the midst of their health journeys and to compare some notes. And it was a wide-ranging and interesting discussion where we talked all the way back to sort of childhood traumas about other people in our lives reacting to their own relationships with food, and in often cases unhealthy relationships with food, talking about parents and loved ones and friends who had really unhealthy relationships with food as we were growing up, and really pushed dieting, and sometimes dieting in unhealthy ways to many of us at very young ages. That realizing that a lot of our families had histories of obesity or bad relationships with food and other health conditions associated, and realizing, that a lot of that might be genetic, a lot of that might be a combination of nature and nurture in terms of our own relationships with food and eating and our own challenges, and obviously all of the physiological, that was a stumble to get to that word, physiological influences that make some of us in this world predisposed to obesity, and thus medical conditions associated with obesity. So it was a great conversation. And one of the things that came up that I found, to be a really interesting aspect of our conversation is we were talking about how people have really treated those who are pursuing medical interventions to assist with overcoming the disease of obesity really poorly. That there are people out there who don't have the same experiences that folks such as myself and my friends here on TikTok have, in terms of trying really hard to eat like a quote unquote normal person and exercise like a quote unquote healthy person and achieve a healthy weight through traditional and conventional means, and they simply can't do it. And there are folks out there who can. There are folks who don't struggle with their weight. There are folks who, when they gain 10, 15, 20 pounds, can simply just flip a switch and do certain actions and lose that weight and maintain that, and thus have healthier outcomes in many cases. And then there are those of us who have physiological, perhaps chemical and hormonal differences, where our bodies fight us to maintain a baseline weight that is higher than what is healthy. And so we spend so much of our lives fighting our own physiology, fighting our own chemistry, fighting our own hormonal imbalances, to try to achieve healthier weight, to no avail. You can achieve it for a period of time oftentimes through extreme dietary changes or intense exercise approaches. But as soon as you slip even slightly, your body fights you and works to achieve that high baseline weight. And then you deal with the cascading effects of that, where over time, your body begins to develop additional health conditions associated with that insistence on your body to maintain that higher baseline weight. And people can be very cruel about this, because a lot of people think because it's easy for them, because they can simply quote unquote do the work and achieve the goal, that you must be deficient if you can't, that you must be lazy if you can't, that you must be failing if you can't. But we don't treat other health conditions this way. If somebody has type 2 diabetes, we don't slap the insulin out of their hands and say, just work harder. If people have poor vision, we don't tell them, you shouldn't wear glasses, just squint harder. If people need braces to fix an overbite, we don't shame them for getting braces to fix their teeth and say, well, you should just, try harder to have straight teeth. But with obesity, we treat people like they have some sort of character flaw instead of some sort of genetic or medical condition. We accept poor vision. We accept poor hearing. We accept crooked teeth. Maybe not aesthetically, but we accept them as circumstances of your genetic legacy. But obesity, for some reason, as a society, we treat it as a moral failing. And I would urge everyone to consider that and to be kinder to each other and to understand that those of us in this community are just trying to overcome our medical condition.